guys. So on my ride to work today, and we're riding the fat bike. Even though my route to work is all paved and none of it is off-road, we're riding the fat bike. I got myself some 4.8-inch Surly Nard tires. So really big and fat. But just like the Nard on all the other bikes, the 41mm Nard, the 3-inch Nard, it's a low rolling resistance design, so it's actually reasonably quick. So our average speed today to work won't be horrendous. So I'm going to do a slightly longer ride to work. So lately I've been trying to do 45 minutes to 50 minutes of riding my way to work, which ends up being usually 20 kilometers, a little bit over 20 kilometers. On this bike, we should just break 20 kilometers. Hopefully we'll average over 27 kilometers an hour. So my ride to work is mostly downhill, gradual downhill, then it's flat. All these initial first few minutes, you have to reach a high point, and we just crested the high point. Got a red light there, so we're gonna take a shortcut since we have a serious off-road machine. Go off-road. This bike's pretty much ready for this winter. I just had the handlebars changed. I had a pair of Easton ECD90 carbon fiber handlebars on there, and I had cut them quite short. And we're gonna try some wider handlebars now. So these are just some aluminum salsa bars that my shop had. So we're back to a good wide bar, a little bit of sweep back, very comfortable. We've got a new 1x11 drivetrain on this bike. I haven't ridden this thing much since winter ended. And this is actually a new frame and fork because my previous frame ended up rusting through and on the chainstays, and Surly warrantied it. So they sent a new frame and fork. So this bike mostly new, really. So I think, you see, the only original parts on this bike are the stem, seat post, seat, and wheels. Oh, and brakes. The calipers and the discs, the brake levers have been switched out. So tons of new parts on this bike. So I'm going to soldier on another winter on this bike because it's pretty new and it still does everything a fat bike's supposed to do. Surly Moonlander still is at the top of the heap for making the widest range of snow conditions rideable. So we're going through some quiet city side streets. This is So where I'm adding the extra distance to my ride. So for part of the ride today, we actually end up riding further away from work. But it's a nice route because it's a lot of these side streets are totally quiet. We leave them early enough that you might not see any traffic on these streets. Either people here have already gone to work, some of these people are really early, or they're still not quite ready to go, or they're all independently wealthy. None of them work. So now we're about to plunge into our, got some deer there. See those? Just hanging out in the neighborhood. So now we're going to plunge into a bike path, and we've got some unlit bike path to deal with. We got a sweet light set up. Here we go. So for this winter, I kind of shot myself in the foot by trading in my Krampus for that Willier Tristina 29 Plus bike, because last winter I actually did the majority of my winter commuting on the Krampus. So with 50mm wide rims and nicotine, 45 North nicotine studded tires, it handled the majority of last winter's conditions admirably. I only use this fat bike on the extreme days. But yeah, so I have a 29 Plus bike that I could use, but it's too nice a bike to submit to winter. The suspension fork ain't gonna use in winter conditions. So looks like I'll be using, is that a raccoon? There's a raccoon. So far we've seen deer and we've seen raccoon. So yeah, that bike is too nice to submit to the winter use, so I'll be commuting entirely, I think, on this bike, unless I buy a cheap winter commuter, either a Plus or a fat bike. There's a Canadian online company called Moose Bicycles. They sell a fat bike for $7.99, single chain ring, 9 gears in the back, 4-inch rims, sorry, 4-inch tires, 80mm rims, aluminum frame, aluminum fork for $7.99. Or I just use this thing. I have my Dillinger 5 studded, but here's kind of what I'm thinking, that the Dillinger 5 studded would be just my fun tires. I think I've had those for almost 3 years now. They still have life in them. I got new studs put in down the center of the tire. So really they're ready to go. But I was thinking just save them for fun riding on the weekends, and then on weekdays my dealer has the 4-inch Dillinger 4s, the wire bead studded tires. He said he'd sell me a set for 30% off, which would bring them I think around 150 bucks each, which is a good price, because I even priced what they are in the States, and I would pay more in American dollars for them, so it's a good deal. But the only issue is I don't know how well they'll work on 100mm wide rims, so I might have to do an experiment and install them there. If you go on 45 North's website, they actually say that they'll fit up to 102mm rims, and then just use those tires for strictly for commuting, because the way it's working out now, the way way it's probably going to work this winter, Monday to Friday, the only riding I'm going to do is riding to and from work, because it's going to end up being an hour and a half to an hour 45, 5 days in a row. It's a decent chunk of riding I'm not going to need to do anymore, and then you just do more fun riding on weekends. So I can leave those 4-inch tires on all during the weekdays and then just switch them out for bigger tires. This is the price on new Dillinger 5s in Canada now. Is they're going to be suggested retail on them is like $350 for one tire. Dillinger 5. Insane. So we're dealing actually with pretty strong wind this morning coming out from the west, but for the last about 3K of our ride it'll be full on tailwind. We're going to our university property. This is Lakehead University in the Northern Ontario School of Medicine. Again, I'm going through here early enough that don't see much of anybody. This wind is going to affect our average speed. I think on Tuesday morning I rode this to work and it was a northwest wind, so we actually had a cross tailwind through these parts. We're now at it's more of a cross headwind. Plus, I'm talking to you guys, so I'm not concentrating as much on maintaining a decent average speed. So another section, high-speed section of unlit path. The city has announced that they're supposed to be lighting all these paths, so who knows, in a few years I might not actually need to light my way like this, get away with just flashers. Their average speed is 26.9. We're not quite into the 27-kilometer area. We got some more gradual downhill here that should boost our average speed. Then we hit the flatter areas. And teachers here are on strike right now, so school is not operational. The strikers, I don't think, show up till a little bit later. More unlit path for us. Another high-speed section. Now we've turned heading east, so we have a tailwind. Normally the winds aren't as strong in the morning. Some animals in the woods. So yeah, this is my ride to work, and in the morning when it gets dark, lots of times I don't see anybody on these trails, just me, the animals. And in the winter time, yes, I rarely see anybody. I have the trails all to myself. Yeah, the weather here has been fairly warm. The riding I did yesterday afternoon, I could wear shorts. That was October 17th, I think, or 18th. This morning, it's single digits. I think it's around 8 or 9. Actually, we can look. What is? Well, this is my polar saying 4.5, but it doesn't feel that cold. Cross headwind now is affecting us. Now we got somebody blocking. Cut off there all the time. People come and block you when you have the right of way. So now we're turning into practically a full-on headwind. Nothing crazy, 20 kilometers an hour-ish, but doesn't help with a fat bike. It's big fat tires. So again, right now we're actually riding away from work, but it's all to add distance and make my ride to work an actual workout, make it actual exercise. So now we're at Chapel's Loop. So this is a paved loop in a park, and in the center of it is baseball diamonds, soccer fields, tennis, and then this loop has a reduced speed limit. It's 20 kilometers an hour all the way around, but nobody obeys that. Hell, we're going 24 kilometers an hour on a fat bike. We're essentially speeding. So we're actually going the opposite direction, but we're going to go do a loop around it, again to add distance and time. We're at 30 minutes, 55 seconds. We want a 45 to 50 minute ride to work. I was looking at some of my older information on Strava from a couple years ago, and a couple years ago I was really only doing like a 35 minute ride to work. So over this past year I've been really disciplined about adding distance in the morning, so I have to get up a little bit earlier, but now it's totally become routine. But on Tuesday I rode this to work, and then I did some intensity on the way home from work. And this bike worked out great because, so we're in this corridor of these paths and things, and it's kind of where I want to stay because when I leave work, it's close to rush hour, so I want to do all my riding in this corridor, this safe corridor. When you ride a really fast bike, you cover more distance in a shorter period of time. So when I ride this bike, I can do the required time of intensity that I want to do in this compressed space, because it takes longer. I travel a shorter distance, so it actually works out great for doing interval type stuff. The gearing on this bike, it's spun out at like 38-39k an hour, and yeah, you don't hit that too often. And because the ride to work is gradual downhill and flat, on the way home there's a lot of gradual uphill, so it's great for pegging your heart rate higher. So this is about a 2-kilometer paved loop. So now our average speed has dropped to 26.8. We might be able to make that up the last few K, because like I said, we should have a pretty good tailwind. This is just a little tweak to add more distance. Now we should have tailwind for mostly the last few K. We might be able to get our average speed back up to 27. It's at 26.7 right now, which is okay with essentially 5-inch fat bike tires. Oh geez, red light, might turn by the time we get there. It's a short light. Yeah, it's turned yellow. There we go. So tailwind, now we're humming along at 33 kilometers an hour. So if the light was green up ahead, we'd go straight, but we have a red, and it's gonna be red by the time we get there. So keep us rolling along. We'll go this way. Which unfortunately means we go into the headwind. Come through KFC parking lot. Down here, picture. So we're at 45 minutes, just a few seconds. We're about 500 meters from work. Sorry, yeah, that picture looked like it turned out pretty good. It'll be up on Instagram. Yeah, so that last few K there was quite fun. Riding hard to keep up with traffic. So here we are. So it was 47 minutes, 2 seconds. Here our average speed dropped below 27k an hour because of that stop to take pictures. But before we had done that, we had averaged over 27k an hour, which is decent. We got big fat 4.8 nards, fat fast tire with adequate grip. Unfortunately, we have to now go and earn the dollars to pay for all these toys. Thanks for watching. Bye.